All right, we are here. There's no extended intro today because we have too much show.
There's no intro at all?
Well, you had the intro. It just went by. We don't have any extraneous or extra video. It's just you and I introducing our show. It's on Freeform Friday. Allegedly, according to StreamYard, only 16 people are watching. I'm sure. Oh, there's 989. We're looking a little bit better.
They just showed up. They were in a bus.
It's like
they
just
were in a bus
in.
driving by.
Apparently, hopefully that's some funny. Rumble drift in, and whichever crazy platforms, programs, whatever. I wanted to very early on though set expectations. We have a lot of guests today. We've never packed this many guests into a show, and that's going to cut into super chat time potentially. I will do my best to get to everything, but some of these I may be displaying on the screen and not be able to talk through or necessarily read everything out loud. So please be patient.
Where are you? You're in Indiana, it says here?
I'm actually in Youngstown, Ohio. I seem to regularly come up this way anymore because I was at the Butler Farm show yesterday.
Okay, what's that about? Like a rock show or?
Yeah, it's called a presidential Trump assassination attempt show.
Okay, right on.
I don't know exactly what they do. It's a Butler Farm show. I think they bring in farm equipment or different things to talk about it. It's odd because there's a fairgrounds also in town, which would seem to be a better location to hold a Trump-sized rally. But for whatever reason,
wait. It was farm equipment you're talking about, or
it's called Butler Farm Show. It's right next to an airport, and it appears, according to my friend up here, to be like it was part of the airport, like there was a runway possibly, and it got ripped up, and then the airport cut off that land.
Right, but what was that? What was at the show? Farm equipment?
Right now, there was nothing other than some tents that were set up.
Right.
Like kind of a display and a stage and a very small set of bleachers.
Okay.
What you saw from the Trump rally is gone. It's been reconfigured.
Right.
But the barns are still there where the snipers were. Obviously, the AGR
so you did
there.
Your drone thing there, right? You shot some drone footage.
Well, we shot some drone footage. We couldn't really do it there because we went there and got kicked out by security.
You look suspicious, Hunley. I mean, you show up with a drone.
You weren't there. I'm an angel, dude. You weren't there. That would have been suspicious.
You show up with a drone, and all of a sudden you say, "I'm Hunley. Let me on the grounds of a crime scene." Go on.
Ironically, it wasn't us that drew the attention. Somebody else was there. Tucker Carlson's producer.
Did they boot them off the grounds too?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's good. We had a guy coming up in a four-wheeler.
Wow. Some wannabe retiree cop looking guy.
Wow.
Get off my lawn.
Wow.
Get off my land.
Wow.
So then we went to the airport.
Gotcha.
And we were doing the drone footage from there. Got kicked out of there too.
What?
Okay,
because it's an airport. An airport, right?
But it's not like a airport. It's it's very small private airport type of thing. I mean, it's literally next to a residential neighborhood.
Gotcha.
It's weird setup.
Gotcha.
The whole thing is incredibly weird. The area going in is completely torn up by construction. I actually think it's possible that crooks could have gotten away.
Gotten away if he had an airplane, you mean, or
no? Just the Charlie Foxtrot, I'll call it, of the setup of the construction, everything else. There's like a lot of places he could have slipped out. It's just really sloppy location,
right?
Versus like the fairgrounds, it's just very wide open, organized, whatever. Again, we were questioning why wasn't this done at the fairgrounds?
I don't know, but there's some Pennsylvania news that just broke. We might want to talk about the latest Kamala Harris possible phony canary in a coal mine trial balloon Jupic of Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania. Eric and I were talking before the show. We both seemed to think that this was a phony aborted pick. In case anybody missed the story, the mayor of Philadelphia, I think some crazy woman with a wig, said that her assistant,
Sherelle Parker,
Sherelle Parker, her assistant, whatever her assistant's name is, accidentally released the commercial video of Kamala Harris's VP pick, the governor of Pennsylvania. This is an accident, of course. They are not really technical people in the mayor's office. Why the mayor's office would have such a video, of course, beggars the imagination as to who's running the campaign. Is it the mayor of Philadelphia or the Harris campaign manager? I would assume there's a campaign manager. My grandfather was a campaign manager. So Eric and I thought it might be a trial balloon to see if that Jew would hunt. And just sorry,
I bet you there's 4 videos.
I could say it. How many videos?
I would bet if her short list is 4 people.
Yeah.
It was actually intelligent to make 4 videos announcing.
Right.
Then,
okay. I'll buy that. I'll buy that.
See what happens here.
Well, they can't keep doing it, but I think the Shapiro one, I think they really want to see the Palestinian blowback in the United States. Now, keep in mind, this is just a couple of days after the Mossad has successfully blown the top and bottom off of the head of Hamas and the military head of Hezbollah. So they might be in a warlike mood. And they want to see what the blowback is on picking Shapiro. Now, Shapiro, from what I know, and I've never done a deep dive on Shapiro, seems to be a regular Democratic, old school politician in regards to Israel. And I don't think he is in the same camp as the PLO chief, Kamala Harris, when it comes to Israel. I think we're going to look back at in a number of years or months that Biden was holding the fort against Kamala Harris and her renegade anti-Israel group. That's my take on it. I don't have, this is just a feeling. Obviously, Biden is responsible for sending the money to Iran and blah, blah, blah. So the buck does stop with him, but the schmuck stops with her. And I think you like that, honey. See how I did that? Buck stop. Anyway, so dig. So I think that she is launching a trial balloon because they want the Jewish money. They're hemorrhaging the numbers. And we're going to bring on Rich Baris in a couple of minutes. And we're going to talk about the latest polls regarding Harris. I don't know if he's got those numbers that came out yesterday regarding Jewish yarmulke flight. I don't know what you want to call it. From the Democratic Party, right, Eric? That's really stepped up according to these numbers, where it's a 50-50 split of what used to be a 70-30 and occasionally in American history, an 80-20 split. I don't know if you could reel them back in. I think this damage may be done, and they're trying to reel it back in by bringing in Shapiro. Now, they're also trying to bring in Shapiro like JFK brought in LBJ to try to win the state of Texas, because this is a battleground state with big, big numbers, and the steel out of Philadelphia. This is something they have to take down to win. The assassination happens in Butler. Jill Biden goes to Pittsburgh. She pulls some of his Secret Service off of his detail to Pittsburgh. A sniper team goes to Pittsburgh. The steal last time was in Philadelphia. There's a Jewish governor named Shapiro. There is so much happening, and that 6 months ago, I predicted that both Wisconsin and Pennsylvania would be the two battleground states of this election. Now, let me just finish with this. There's 7 states in the country that have a law that I'm going to describe, and I talked to Hunley about it this week. 2 of them out of the 7, the other 5 are not in play. 2 of them that are in play, Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, have the following law. Absentee ballots cannot be counted until after the election is over, thereby assuring a 1 to 3 week long count in Wisconsin. You heard it here first. I'm going to repeat this. Wisconsin and Pennsylvania will have multi-week long counts. And this will come into play when we have our final guest today, Steve Cooley, because Steve Cooley in 2010, when he ran for Attorney General against Kamala Harris, was the first victim of the 3-week-long count that eventually led to his demise. And he'll say that explain it for himself. But right now, we're sitting here on a breaking news story about the governor of Pennsylvania, Shapiro, being picked as the running mate, Eric.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I don't know. I just put a poll up to see what everybody else thinks. 86% agree that they think it's a trial balloon as well.
Yeah, it looks like it. It's just too stupid. I mean, they are trying to go. I believe the Democratic base of the Democratic Party is some of the most least educated voters in the entire voting pool. And I believe that is Black Democratic women, single women, as most Black women are. They have an 86 to 92% single rate of marriage regarding marriage. So it's kind of an oxymoron to say they're single women. And I believe that's the Democratic base. I've said that for years. Other people have talked about it. And I think her entire style is about talking at their level intellectually. I think, and I was talking to Michael Malice on Twitter today, and I believe that he has been rope-a-doped into believing she's mentally retarded, as he said on Rogan. I believe it's an act, and I believe that when we talk to Steve Cooley, who was the DA of Los Angeles years ago, he will tell us what this woman was like. This is an act, folks. Do not take this woman lightly. This is the cackling, all of that stuff is an act to lower expectations, and for her personally to talk to her view, Sonny Costin base of Whoopi Goldberg, of weed women and the Black women of this Democratic Party that are the base of the Democratic Party. And the momentum that she's gotten from this is quite real. This is not going to go away. They have an incredible amount of momentum. Whether you believe it or not is up to you, but it's real. It's real. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's worked all the way to become vice president and now a nominee.
Yeah, right, Eric. I mean, people who say she's unqualified, tell me somebody on the Republican Party who was the assistant DA of San Francisco, the district attorney of San Francisco, the attorney general of California, the vice president of the United States, and now running for vice president of the United States,
and a
senator of California. It's Nixonian level resume stuff. I mean, you could say she's unqualified. You could say that about Obama because he had been just a state senator and a senator for a short period of time. But this woman, whether she did the job or not, you never heard anything. There was no scandals per se when she was district attorney of San Francisco, when she was attorney general of California, when she was United States senator, when she ran for president and lost. Okay, that happens. Happened to Nixon too. And now running for president, she was vice president. She did her job. It's a warm bucket of spit. Nobody does anything on that job. So she got high and cackled. That was her deal. She ran around cackling. Other people, Lyndon Johnson just got drunk. He took cases of scotch with him and he went overseas. I mean, it's a ribbon cutting job. But do not take this woman unseriously. Do not consider her to be a fool. That's the game she's playing. Whether it works or not, that's her game. She wants to lower expectations all the way down below the planet Earth to where you don't take her seriously. There are a lot of Democrats who take her seriously, and that's more important that we understand that as she runs for president of the United States. Now, that being said, I also believe if things go bad, that Biden will indeed physically step down and give her the gravitas of making her president of the United States before November. I have also said on this show a week before that if she loses, he will make her president of the United States as a virtue signal from hell that this woman is now going to be the president for 3 months. So I just want to this is just all my crap. I just want to put it out there. This is just hunches and my own prognostications. But what's not
what I love is the chat. The chat seems to be reacting as if we are fans of her.
Right. Again,
just because we're saying don't underestimate.
You have to be mentally retarded to think that, chat people. I know it's hard for you to think that it's not true, but you have to somehow wrap your minds and have two compartments. We're not supporting her at all. If you've ever watched this show before, why would you think that, schmuck? Anyway, I'm sorry, Eric.
Well, that and they're insisting, no, we are wrong. Oh, you know what? I'm going to give it to them. Let's say she is stupid.
Right.
She still can win.
Of
she
course.
still has the momentum. There's still a tide turning. And everything is being painted for her. And I think the dumbest thing you can possibly do is say, oh, we got it in the bag.
Right. Keep laughing. That's what she wants. Keep laughing. Keep laughing, my friend. She's raised over $280 million while you're laughing at her. That being said, they're busy changing her Wikipedia pages in the middle of the night. I was telling Eric this morning about it on the phone. There's a Wikipedia page of her versus Steve Cooley that's been altered. There's another one of hers that's been altered. They are stripping out the Jamaican and Indian information and replacing it with African-American information as we speak, with new articles that are phony coming out of NPR that are now placed at link on all the different Wikipedia pages she's on, including her mother's that's been altered. If you go to the timestamps on the bottom of Wikipedia, you can see the edits and you can see the dates and the actual time and who's doing it. But more importantly, you could see the subject matter that's being stripped out. And what's being stripped out and put in is African-Americanizing her, that's a phrase, to make her seem more black. And we saw what happened with Trump when he went into the belly of the beast, or the fat of the yeast among the Black Journalist Society over there. He handled it, I thought, amazingly well, considering it was an ambush. And he went into their world. He is a bold MFer, my friends. He went right into the belly of the beast. But take a look at what they're doing. They're now claiming all kinds of things. Her mother met her father at a Black Panther meeting in Berkeley. And not that that makes either one of them African-American, but neither one of them is African-American. The cat's from Jamaica, the mother's from India. And there's nowhere in her original bio. And as Trump pointed out, she was African-American in 2000. She was Indian-American in 2016. And in 2020, she was African-American. That's just a fact. You can do it. You can make what you want of it. But the real thing to make out of it is that she's an opportunist who will utilize whatever genetic code she can to help her political candidacy.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And by the way, people forget that there was another person who was seen as, quote, not black, and then became progressively blacker as it went along.
Yeah.
But when Obama was first running against Hillary Clinton, he wasn't considered black. And that was from a lot of the black community. But as it went on, it was like, hey, this guy's actually doing something. He's as black as me. He's my brother.
Right.
And people are forgetting. So watch. It's going to stick. We've seen it work before. She will become officially black.
Yes. And the alteration of Wikipedia in the middle of the night, the past 4 or 5 nights, is indicative of that. They have minions working around the clock for these Democratic candidates that I don't believe the Republicans have or have ever had. So, but we'll see, because when Rich comes on, I wanted to talk to Rich about, he made a statement the other day that she is not a female Obama, she's a black Hillary Clinton. And he means that polling wise, not socially, from what his numbers are so far. And I know it's early in the polling, but Rich mentioned that the other day. I wanted to ask him about him when we do see him.
Yeah, no, it definitely. I definitely want to hear that, because, we've never seen this exact situation. I haven't in my lifetime,
right?
And you were probably too young to really put it together with LBJ when he stepped out, and even that wasn't the same thing. This is uncharted waters. How do you read polls? How do you do anything? And I look forward to.
Well, as I said, and I'll say it again, this was planned over 2 years ago. The Biden box out of any of the primary candidates was intentional. They never intended him to run. They put the June 25th debate up there to get him out of the way. Obama ran the 25th Amendment strategy on him. They forced him out by giving him some sort of package and getting him out of the way. This did not happen overnight. The reason I know it did not happen overnight is the similarity of the talking points and the rapidity of which they came out the next day after this, reminding me of the time that Obama changed his mind on gay marriage, and the next day 10,000 pundits changed their mind on gay marriage. This was a similar situation. The second that Biden stepped down, everybody switched over to her. The money thing, the machine, everything was well oiled, ready to go because it was planned over 2 years ago. The boxing out of RFK and other candidates was to give him all of the 40 million plus primary votes that he could then switch to her. Imagine, Eric, if there had been real primaries, there would be a catfight right now as to who had X amount of delegates. The reason they had a Bigfoot every single Democrat in the primary system, and some of them may have been in on this and told, look, we're doing something different this year. We're doing something special. This is where it's going. They boxed out and had the media on board about the cognition problems of Joe Biden. They covered for him until the end on June 26th, after the debate. Then they bigfooted Joe Biden, crushing him to human death. And then after the foot was taken off, she came out of that with the nomination, and they immediately went back to there's nothing wrong with Joe Biden. Almost like the magic Wurlitzer that the CIA used to play in terms of propaganda. This maneuver, and I said to friends of mine all week, I have to tip my hat to them. It's brilliant in its political chicanery. It's brilliant in its evil. I really am impressed, and I don't mean that I support it. I mean, I'm impressed about how, Machiavellian and brilliant it was pulled off by these people. The secrecy of it, the no leakage, the media on board, every single moving part. There were so many thousands of moving parts working as a Soviet-style machine. I got to really tip my hat. I really do. I mean, they pulled this thing off, and this may lead to President Harris within a few months.
And by the way, that's why we're pushing this so hard is I feel, and I even watching the chat, everybody is underestimating her. And go ahead and say, yeah, we got it in the bag because you're dead. The last person who said, yeah, we got it in the bag was Hillary Clinton in 2016. And I think everybody needs to fight tooth and nail and pretend that, it's
10 points back.
Touchdown down, 10 points back, and you're at the end of the fourth quarter because she's dangerous, in my opinion.
Well, I'll put it this way. If she gets in, it's the end of this. It's the end of our society. It's the end of the United States as we know it. You're talking about 8 years of complete Marxist rule, the seizing of guns, the end of gas cars, rent laws that make all the rents controlled by the government itself, the elimination of gas stoves, the elimination of cars. I mean, the elimination of so many things, the pathway to citizenship for the 50 million or 30 million illegals that just came in. I mean, it's endless. It's endless. Let me just say this, and then we could bring in Rich possibly. This is a textbook situation where a far left candidate, and this happened with McGovern too when he ran against Nixon. Once you get the nomination, you move as rapidly as a jet rocket to the middle, which is where she's going. She's going on rocket fuel to the middle politically. And, people are trying to hold her feet to the flame about the border. Look what happened with the media just with the border czar concept, Eric, how they completely gaslit everyone about that particular thing. They are going to move her to the middle and eliminate any footprints of Marxism, including, I'll tell you right now from the Wikipedia page, where she was the most voted the #1 far left senator in the United States Senate. That was eliminated from her Wikipedia page by the editors simply saying that this source is not legit. And I read the details last night in the edit, the removal. You can go and read it yourself. It'll say that source is now illegitimate and removed. That factoid is now out of her past. And this is going to continue in the shaping of her as a old style Hillary Clinton Democrat from the old Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. And okay. But another thing Mark and I were talking about on it is I keep harping that she's not going to acknowledge anything about the border or anything else because
No.
she is going to use the one issue that burned the Republicans in midterms 2022, and that's the Roe v. Wade being overturned and abortion. And Mark went further, and what is you called it? RAM?
I call it RAM, racism, abortion, and misogyny. These are going to be the three key points of her triangle. You could call it arm if you want, but I called it RAM. She's going to use racism, misogyny if she's attacked as a woman, abortion, like Eric is saying, the Roe v. Wade, and then racism all day long, whether she's an Indian American or a African American. It's not going to matter. They're just going to use those three. I think are going to be the main beats of the drum.
Yep, and they just won't even acknowledge immigration.
Yeah,
like,
they're not going to.
And they'll just keep spitting out the same thing. It's like,
yeah, he's going to get a shot at one.
Guy.
He's going to get a shot at one debate, which I assume he'll be victorious. I don't know if it's going to make any difference since there's so much momentum on her side right now, and I think the steal will be in Philadelphia. And I'll say it again. I'll say it until the election. We need physical bodies in Philadelphia around the election sites. That's where it has to be. Those bodies have to intimidate people. I don't know if it's going to work, but it's definitely not going to work if nobody's there.
True. Now, somebody in the chat. Oh, here we go. And right on schedule, we have the illustrious People's Pundit himself.
Hey, Baris.
Of course I am. Piffy as always. Piffy as always.
Way to go, Baris.
I had to get comfortable, though. I had to get rid of the three-piece. It was choking me a little.
All right. You feel better?
I do. I feel good.
Are you being choked by the new Kamala Harris numbers that you're finding?
Listen, I can't wait to talk about it, but
let's get into it because we don't have all freaking day here, Baris.
Let's go, buddy.
Chop, chop. You said the other day, and I don't want to misquote you. You said that she is more like Hillary Clinton than Barack Obama.
Sure.
Do your numbers see that now, or is that your hunch, or what's the deal with that?
No, that's the truth. That's the case. And in fact, right now, I know everyone's having a bit of a meltdown. Oh my God, she's in a surge. I don't see it. I have 10 pollster friends. We see a closer race. But look, this fraud right here. Here's a perfect example.
Yeah, what happened here?
I don't know what the rule is.
Did you get a phone call, Rich?
I don't know what the language rule is on your show, but this guy is continuing his role as a bullshitter and trying to remain relevant. He's a total fraud. He spent the morning defending his model. It's a good economy. It's a fair to average economy. If it's a fair to average economy, then why did the economy create 114 or whatever thousand jobs this morning? The markets are in free fall because they're all in a panic. Everyone knows that means recession. There are more than one indicator showcasing a recession, and the Fed is meeting to give Kamala Harris her quick ass rate cut before the economy collapses and she gets a chance to try to eke out an election win. And the truth is, Democrats were down in the dumps for months. We were finding Trump +7s, which I told my audience I didn't even believe. You're not going to see anybody, win with that margin in this country anymore, at least not for a while. But he was facing like an 2008 Bush-style level collapse. He was going to lose Minnesota, Virginia, probably Maine, New Mexico. It was awful. So they waged this coup. They got rid of him, and she brought back some of the voters that have been trending Democrat that kind of fell off the grid. This is a textbook response bias. It is not a huge shift in public opinion. We still have Trump up by 1. Yes, that's not the Trump +7 last month or 6 last month, but Trump +1 is a comfortable electoral college win. I just put this all in a perspective for everybody. Oh my God, she's ahead in Michigan and RCP, right? Because of one bullshit Bloomberg News poll that everyone in the entire industry is laughing at. This is not the first time. It's not even the second time. It's the third time that Morning Consult has done this with Bloomberg News. Yeah. Look at the damn dates of the interviews, folks. They started interviewing 10 days ago. 10 days ago. They pulled this before the State of the Union, too, gentlemen. Remember the headlines? Biden surges post State of the Union. Okay. Every single one of those interviews were conducted before he even gave the damn address. This is, I mean, I told everybody to get ready for this to come. Like, they're going to do everything in their power. All right. We're all looking at the numbers. Just got off the phone before I had to hop on. Where does Scott Rasmussen even get his money from? Is it because now he drops a poll that's done by anti-Trump Remington Research? Is it not required to release your sponsorship anymore when you conduct a poll? All of a sudden, we're all just doing this. And by the way, I mean, these are people who know him. 24 hours after the other anti-Trump Jeff Rowe connected polling firm releases an almost identical poll. Give me a break. We all know what is going on here. And maybe you're fooling people, and that's the name of the game.
Well, maybe you're creating momentum also.
Maybe
they're creating momentum, whether momentum is phony or not.
That's what they're doing.
It's still momentum, though, Rich.
Mark, they're trying, but it's starting to ease already because get this. Mark Mitchell and I from Rasmussen Reports, we were just comparing some data over the weekend. Saturday and then later Sunday was like her best days. And if we only polled those 2 days, both of us, he would have got a Harris +3. I would have got a Harris +2. But because we kept going,
go ahead.
Because we kept going, I went until Tuesday, right? And I think he went until Wednesday, I believe it was. Either way, I might be getting where he was done messed up here. But because we were both maintained being in the field for another 48 hours or so, it ironed out. And Trump came back up. He didn't get back to where he was, but he weathered the storm and came out the other side. This, though, is important because this is what the media does. This is how modern Democratic campaigns are run. It's not real. It's not organic, but they keep repeating it over and over in the hope that they manifest it. And they can. It's very, very strange and very interesting phenomena, but they can do that.
Well,
and
we haven't even gotten to the convention yet, Rich. So
that's right.
What about that
another mega bounce, Rich? No?
Well, I told a reporter who called me because even they don't know it's bull. Even they do. And they're like, how much do you think they'll stretch her national lead out to? Let me ask you something, gentlemen. Does that sound like a legitimate question to you to be asked by a reporter? Like, they know it's BS, right? So I'm over there trying to explain to him what a response bias is and how the artifacts of polling itself can create the false impression of opinion change. And a great example, which I bring up all the time, is Mitt Romney never led Barack Obama. Pew Research only called people after he thumped Obama in the first debate, and they came up with Romney +4 because more Republicans were willing to talk. Well, Democrats have been under a rock with their animated corpse of a nominee for months, and now they're just trying to come back. There are a few groups that we saw go back to Harris in a way that we would have expected. Like, I've been waiting around for these groups to go back to Biden. It just was not happening for a while, and I think it would have happened. Honest to God, I think it would have happened. I think
about black men or
no, I'm sorry, actually black women are one of them. And then other are younger voters under 30 who have a college degree, be either a 4-year or beyond. So if you're 25 to 29 and you're college educated, especially if you're white, then you are much more liberal than an 18 to 24-year-old age group that is not. So those were both basically even. And now this month, the 25 to 29 went back to Kamala, and pretty solidly. Not as much as they supported Biden, not as much as they supported Obama. And even Rui Teixeira, I read it on the show today, one of the co-authors of the Emerging Democratic Majority, he's like, whoa, wait a minute here. I don't care what the polling says. I'm looking at the numbers in the polling, and she cannot win with these numbers. She needs to improve. This is not Obama's coalition. Trump still has all of those working men, and guess what? They're not all white anymore. So that's a big problem for her. She needs more white college-educated voters.
Does Shapiro help her, Rich, or what's the deal out of Pennsylvania? Because I think Pennsylvania is going to be the battleground of battlegrounds.
It is, and I think that you saw the mayor leak the video. They're so stupid. Without the media handling everything for them, they can't do anything right. I mean, they are so. This is like a modern Democratic campaign perfectly encapsulated in Kamala Harris. It really is. They don't really run campaigns anymore. They don't do that. They run information warfare campaigns,
Right.
and that's what they do. And I think there's some risk with Shapiro. He's untested on the national stage. He went after Mastriano. He went against Mastriano, who was hated by the Republican establishment. The RGA didn't help him at all. And he's got a lot of dirt that a lot of us know about. I know a lot of people who are close to him.
Wow.
There are some knives coming out now that Democrats.
Whoa.
Oh, there's dirt. There's bad dirt.
Yeah, I heard that. I don't know what it is, but I've heard some dirt rumors about.
Dude, if you let your friend abuse the shit out of a girl, like and you know about it, and you use your office to protect her. Not you, but and you use your office to protect him. And
sounds Cuomo. It sounds Cuomo-like.
There's some dirty stuff, and now some Democratic groups are learning about some of this stuff. That's the tip of the iceberg.
Well, is this a trial balloon they're floating here, Rich?
It may be a head fake.
They can't be this stupid. I mean, come on.
I'm telling you, but I'm telling you, I saw the Democratic polling that was done before they pushed Biden out. Somebody gave it to me. And it showed Harris losing everywhere. By the way, she was not even ahead of Trump in their own polling. It did show that she would take back Virginia, and Minnesota was like 0.8. It was small, but they showed her winning back some of the blue states that were in free fall for Biden. And this is what and I think they may be getting duped by how polling works in the Midwest, but they showed that she had the best chance in Pennsylvania. So it would not surprise me at all. And she was still down, by the way. She just was really down.
Well, what's going on in Michigan with her?
She's going to be more pro-Hamas. She's going to try to be more pro-Hamas.
More pro-Hamas on a national campaign?
But she's picking, if she picks Shapiro, who just today, some of these, again, it's not Republicans leaking this stuff.
Yeah.
This is Democrats trying to stop her from picking Shapiro.
I assume those knives are coming out. And they've got chopped liver on the end of it. Kosher chopped liver, my friend. Those knives are going after him. I mean, the Khalid Sheikh Mohammed out of nowhere after 20-year pardon. I didn't even know Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was alive. And yet they pardoned him. I mean, what do they have to give up, Rich, to win Michigan? Pardon the death penalty. Pardon the death penalty.
They took the death penalty off the table.
Right. That's what I meant. That's right.
Yeah, and then there was the article he had written in response to a paper when he was at university. There was an article about peace is the only way. A two-state solution is the only way forward. And Shapiro wrote a response from the student body, which basically said, no, Palestinians are like bread for war. There's no peace for them. They're militant-minded, which is what he used.
That's what I said. He seemed like a normal.
Which, by the way, I agree with.
No, so I know. Guess what? I'm saying. He's far too normal. It's got to be a trial balloon.
But what did he do? He went out and he immediately said, "Oh my God, that was 30 years ago. I don't even believe that anymore." He wants
the job. You're saying
he wants the job, man. He's trying to be militant about it.
Well, what's worse for them? Giving up a Senate seat in Arizona, or having the sitting governor of Pennsylvania as your VP candidate? Who's Jewish, who will attract drone bombs to him. I mean, which is a worse pick, Kelly or Shapiro, Rich?
I mean, Kelly's got his own problems, as we know. The
balloons.
That's right. And then it was.
Speaking of balloons, I had to tell you guys.
I'm in North Carolina. It was an open secret here a couple of weeks ago. She called Roy Cooper, and they had an event scheduled anyway. But she was like, "Hey, would you be interested?" At first, he said yes. From what I'm understanding, earlier this week, he basically doesn't believe the hype. He said he'll do white dudes for Trump, but he thinks she thinks Trump's gonna mollywop her. And he said, and I quote, what I was told is that I have a better chance winning as a Democrat. I have a better chance winning a Senate seat in North Carolina as a Democrat than I do being elected vice president. So he's
who do you think it is? You think it's down to Kelly?
I think I do.
You think it's Kelly? You think it's going to be Kelly? Or
honestly, if this campaign kills him, I actually that the memo I read along with the polling was concluding that they could try to run through the Sun Belt and get Pennsylvania and then kind of forfeit Michigan and Wisconsin. Like that was their line of thinking at that time. So that to me was like, that's got to be then that's Shapiro. But you could, in the Sun Belt, the only choice would have been Cooper, but now he's off the table, I guess. So, that would leave Mark Kelly, because Mark Kelly's Arizona. I just don't see. Here's the kicker. Like, and then VP.
If Trump does not use, if they pick Kelly and Trump does not use my slogan of the space cadet and the astronaut, I'm going to leave this entire show and never come back.
The campaign needs to take somebody's advice, because they're doing. Listen, I don't show for anybody. If I see people slipping up or making stupid calls, I'll immediately say it. Like, gentlemen, they're over there waiting, putting out ads on X and Twitter and Truth Social. Like, who gives a damn? You're losing the race to define her right now.
Absolutely.
And they pulled this off with this time, so you wouldn't have what's called the spring offensive. Like, John Kerry got hit with the spring offensive by Bush. He painted him as a coastal liberal New Englander, and he couldn't get out of that. He was always going to be seen as that, and it lost him the election in Iowa, right? So they're not doing enough of that right now. Like,
I agree.
Gentlemen, we just watched 2 women get their brains beat in at the Olympics by biological men who think they're freaking women. Kamala Harris absolutely is on tape saying she supports that.
Good.
This is like low hanging fruit. Cut the ad. Watch the guys hit the women with sweet chin music, and a friggin' helmet wraps around her head. She sits so hard, and then cut in pictures of Kamala, cut in clips of Kamala. I definitely support men and women's sports. I definitely support trans women. I definitely support women.
As we say in the movie business, it makes its own sauce.
It makes its own sauce. This is not hard. Instead, Chris Lasivit is too busy beating on Trump loyalists in the Atlantic. I mean, come on, dude. They brought discipline to this campaign, but they're off the rails now. He's posting pictures of Tony Soprano flipping people off on Twitter. Like, dude, get a little of that discipline your damn self.
Okay, so what's going to happen with the convention? She's going to get a bounce, obviously.
You're going to trot out rappers to try to get
rappers are going to be there. I mean, Mo Def,
Urban Women,
Biggie Smalls, Smalley Biggs.
They'll resurrect him.
No, it's going to be holograms of Tupac and Biggie Smalls. AIing and putting her name into the lyrics, I presume.
Trump should have brought Snoop, dude. He should have given the floor to like Waka Flocka Flame, bro, and just let him go. I'm serious. He should have done that. It was a good convention, and Kid Rock is the man. But by the way, Kid Rock could pick up that phone and call Waka Flocka. Why didn't he do it? You're too busy. You're too worried about making white people uncomfortable. Dude, you're going to win the white vote by 13 points anyway. You need to keep the black men that are under the age of 45 from going back to Kamala. That's how you crush her in Macomb County, Michigan. That's how you beat her like a drum in Saginaw. You
believe that 50 Cent should have been his VP selection from what you're saying?
Well, I think honestly, and listen, I love JD. I like him. I personally like JD Vance a lot. He's my boy. I do. Right on. I like him as a man, and not just like as a politician. I just didn't want to see him be yanked out of the Senate. So like there were
that sounds familiar. Yeah. Where did I hear that from, Hunley?
I mean, because you watch Mike DeWine stick a big fat knife right in Trump's back.
No, I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I said that.
Matt Dolan, it's coming.
I know.
It's so predictable.
Of course. It makes its own sauce.
As long as we have.
It makes its own sauce. All right. Listen, Baris, we got other guests. We can't stay with you all day.
That's cool.
So we're going to have you back for a longer segment, a couple of weeks. So right after the convention, Rich.
We'll have more polling too.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the polling after the convention and see what her bounce is. And we could talk about that at that time. How's that?
Good. Sounds
all
good.
All right, brother. Man. All right. Good Hang in there. Hang in there.
Keep fighting and keep us informed, man.
Always, brother. Always.
Thank you so much, dude.
You going to boot me?
Right. Yep. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was interesting. Way to go.
It is interesting. I still don't know. I don't want to be too confident. I feel like there's too much joy.
Well, let's see if we have some other news while we're waiting for our next guests. What do you have in the hopper over there? Anything good or?
Yeah, let's somebody's asking earlier. They're like, okay, fine. Is there any good news? So
Yeah, maybe there's
how
some
about
good
good news?
Maybe some funny good news. What you want to? Oh, that's my favorite story of the week. I sent that to Eric as soon as I saw it. Hunley, of course, and I love the all-you-can-eat pancake at IHOP. They brought it back. It's $5 stinking. And if you order the breakfast, whatever, the full thing that they have, not the slam, because that's Denny's, I think it's even cheaper. But for $5, all you can eat pancakes at the International House of Pancakes, which used to be a Marxist organization. It's now more democratic with flavors from around the world. Hunley and I are making a beeline right after the show to IHOP.
Yeah, in our respective locations.
In our respective
Absolutely.
locations, yeah.
Definitely. Well, yeah, we've already got an early hit for our next set of guests here.
Oh, wow.
We have from New York, part of the New York City Intelligence Unit, I believe, NYPD. Oh, wow. Al Gonzales.
Gonzales is taking a nap. We're gonna wake him up.
Apparently.
I think they think it's at 5:30, but somebody's got to wake up Gonzales.
There
and
he
then
is.
Alan, if he's still around, I don't know what happened to Alan. He was up in Poughkeepsie somewhere.
Yeah. Hey, boys. It's been a long time since that night in the bar in Dallas when Mark was holding court. And,
That was fun, Al. That was fun.
Yeah. It's
I hear
a
you
lot of
echoing,
stories.
Al. Do you have speakers turned on somewhere, Al? Because I hear it.
Okay. Let me just.
Make sure you're using your
Okay.
headphones and not.
Is that better?
Oh yeah, I think that's
All right.
Okay.
Well, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what
How's
happens.
that?
But
Okay.
we-
Yeah.
what-
Tell the story in Dallas. Actually, that is a fun
that was
story.
fun.
From,
That was fun.
Yeah. So went down for the JFK conference, and you boys were there. It was quite a weekend. So unfortunately, we got into a really good conversation while the organizers were trying to conduct some
Right. I forgot
ridiculous-
about it. Right.
ridiculous awards ceremony.
They were
and,
giving themselves awards, weren't they, Al?
Yeah. And so I mean, as a couple of New Yorkers, me and Mark are back there, swapping stories and talking about Jackie the Joke Man and all the
right.
all the people we know in common. And then from the stage, they kept telling us to keep quiet. And finally, somebody came over to the table and flipped out on us. Then we went into we went into the hallway and we brought half the conference room with us because what we were talking about turned out to be, funnier or more interesting than what was going on
inside. Yeah, that was. And then we went to the bar. Right, they kicked us out of the hallway and we went down to the bar. And I think we got kicked out of the bar.
So half the conference comes down to the bar. Dustin was down there, a whole bunch of other guys, and you know what, Mark? I forgot to tell you this. The funniest thing was you ordered a Coke, and the bartender comes back with a Jack and Coke, and you took one sip, and you're like, "Can I have a Coke without the Jack Daniels in it?"
Hey, look, it happens. Shit happens you could get a roofie in there. Now in California, in the bar, they have roofie detecting kits. Stop laughing. It's true. Newsom signed the bill. You have a kit on the wall where if you order a drink, you got to have the roofie detection kit next to the condom dispenser, next to the Vicodin dispenser, next to the Narcan dispenser, Al.
Tell me about it. I'm down at the Jersey Shore. I got to
hold on. Tell us who you are first of all. Nobody knows who you are. Tell us your background. Give us a little bio on Al Gonzales. I know it says retired NYPD, but just give us in a nutshell who you did, what you did, when you did it.
Yeah. So I was a radio car cop in the South Bronx for many years. Right after 9/11, the job felt they really need to upgrade the intelligence unit because the whole department got caught flat-footed on that day. Let's be honest. And so they brought in, of all people, David Cohen, a deputy director of the CIA. I mean, look this guy up.
Wow.
And Ray Kelly brought him in and to reform this intelligence unit. It always had been like a poor stepchild of the department. So I threw my name in the hat and I got picked up. And, from there, our mantra was, we were told, if you got a problem working here, because some of this stuff we're going to be doing is not going to be legally on the level. Raise your hand right now if you got a problem. And believe me, they were doing all kinds of illegal stuff. They got sued by the ACLU. We were conducting all kinds of Fourth Amendment
You're talking about
violations.
black bag jobs, I presume.
Yeah. They said, listen, we're never going to get caught with another 9/11 situation. The feds failed us on this.
Right.
They had all kinds of intel that they weren't sharing. And this thing happened, and they left us to pick up the mess.
Yeah.
So when they started the intel unit, they said, damn the CIA, damn the FBI if they don't like it. And if it turns out to be, we're going to conduct parallel investigations on things they already got going. Too bad.
Yeah.
Because, these guys, fell down on their face with 9/11. So we lost a lot of people.
Well, what about speaking of 9/11? I mean, there's taking the death penalty off the table for Khalid Sheikh Mohammed yesterday. I mean, where did this come from out of the blue? How did this happen? The guy's in there 20 years eating pita bread, and all of a sudden he gets the death penalty taken off the table, Al.
He must have given up something that they wanted.
Right.
I get together with guys I used to work with and still have a lot of contacts on guys, that are still there. That's the consensus. They got what they wanted. They dangled the carrot. He took it. This, I got to tell you this. The guys that are still on the job, and they're good guys and gals, but this whole Trump assassination attempt, to a man, they all said, this is not the end of it.
Yeah.
There's something else coming. It's not going to be a shooting. You don't run the same gag twice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, one of the guys was saying, I think I put this on a super chat, Trump's plane is where, I would be very, very careful. They bring in some, company mechanic from the CIA to put a faulty part in there at 35,000 feet. The thing blows. And then what happens when they recover the wreckage? The FBI comes in there and steals evidence, alters evidence, just like they did in TWA 800.
Well, we saw that in 800. I mean, something was launched off the coast of Long Island, right, Al?
Without a doubt. You got
effing doubt. I mean, so many people saw those surface air missiles being launched from Long Island from the coast. I mean, for Christ's sakes, this wasn't UFO technology.
Hundreds of people. You had military guys, up in helicopters and planes and everything, who've seen surface to air missiles.
Yep.
And they know what it is. And what is the video that comes out? A CIA video, with a fairy tale, about the plane breaking apart and then going up several thousand feet, and that's what the people thought was a missile. I mean, this is ridiculous.
No, you're right about the vulnerability. I mean, my father was a jet engine mechanic, foreman at Kennedy his whole life. And not that anybody was doing anything intentionally, but guys come in hungover, leaving freaking pairs of pliers right in the engine and bottles of beer. I mean, you have no idea the stories that my dad told me, horror stories that planes were even able to fly. You know what I'm saying? Now with the amount of people who weren't intentionally doing it.
Yeah. Very easy to sabotage a plane. And the other thing, when I was talking with a couple of guys the other day, they said, this assassination attempt, people are talking about JFK. No, the one you have to look at is the Malcolm X assassination, where they let it happen. This was a let it happen attempt. And they had
NYPD. Also Hoover allowing the MLK assassination to happen down in Atlanta. I mean, he let that one happen. Everybody was being followed by the FBI back then, and all the players were known to Hoover. That's a closer analogy, I think, because you got, James in the window there, James Earl Ray in the bathroom window. He flees. He gets multiple passports. He's got money. He's got a group of businessmen who pay him.
Good
It's a
point,
conspiracy. He has a high-powered rifle with a scope. He gets away and eventually is apprehended. That's much closer to what happened in Butler, I think.
I only referenced the Malcolm X assassination because they had intel that he was going to be taken out imminently. Okay, imminently.
Right.
So what they did was the patrol cops in the NYPD, they stationed them right outside the place.
Right.
And then when the shooting was over, the NYPD guys, I know this from accounts, they walked in there with like their hands in their pockets, like casual. Oh, yeah, it's all over now. Okay.
Okay. Right
you know,
on. This is in the ballroom in Harlem, is what Al's referring to. The Audubon Ballroom in Harlem, when Malcolm X was killed by two other black Muslims with shotguns, Al, if I recall, or.
Yeah. Well, one guy had a shotgun, it blasted Malcolm X, and then other guys walked up and finished him off.
The coup de grace.
Yeah, the coup de grace. And then after it was all over, they got one guy running out the front door, and there's video of that. But nobody went in once the shots were going. Nobody went in. Right. This is the thing. This is what they call the sin of omission. You let it happen.
Right.
And then there's plausible deniability, and nobody's accountable.
Yeah.
And,
I think that's what happened here. Now, tell us, as I saw Ray Kelly on the other night, he was talking about NYPD interacting with Secret Service. If you have any take on that.
I said it in the super chat. This is all security theater.
Yeah.
You assemble, hundreds of cops and undercovers and plainclothes and, snipers on roof with 50 calibers. They can still get to whoever they want. When they form these details, they get advanced teams that come in there. The higher ups in the NYPD, they get a very sort of like peripheral, meeting and this and that. The cops, like if Trump comes to the Trump Tower, they grab cops from precincts all over the city who have no training at all.
Right.
These are guys like myself for many years that are riding around in a radio car, going into domestic disputes, car accidents, robberies, all kinds of stuff. And then they tell you the day before, they give you a notification. Oh, you're gonna be down there on Fifth Avenue. Trump's gonna be there and this and that. So I remember, they were telling us, hey, listen, when Trump comes by, don't be looking at Trump. Look at the crowd. That's how uneducated most cops, whether it's NYPD, LAPD, the local guys in Butler, they're grabbing from all, from all different places, and nobody's getting any training. They tell you, hey, look, here's your post. You go over there and stand over there like a potted plant.
Yeah.
Okay. And they don't know what to do. When I saw the video of the guys who saw crooks up on the roof, I saw like 3 or 4 different uniforms.
Yeah.
So none of the guys know each other. They see this. And my first reaction was, why isn't somebody firing some shots at least to draw attention?
I thought the same thing. That's what I thought. Yeah.
The Secret Service to grabbing Trump off the stage. What you had was cops it was paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
And cops worried that they're violating department policy against warning shots. And I want to clear this up because I know Eric had on a guy who, was talking about this. Department policy is not law. Okay? If the department policy says we don't allow warning shots, you are not bound by that in an emergency circumstance. But what's happened is they put into the mind of young cops today, if I do something, I'm getting fired. And that's why those guys didn't take the action they should have. In an emergency situation, all bets are off the table. They want to come fire me for firing a warning shot? Good luck. Fire me, and I'll be working for Trump, making $250,000 a year, and I'll have a book, and I'll never have to work a day in my life because you did the right thing when it mattered.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. Well,
Interesting.
The reality of it is they froze, didn't they, Al?
They froze. And listen, I understand.
Yeah.
But you got guys that, in that neck of the woods. Listen, all policing is the same in some respects, but in a lot of respects, it's not. You get a guy in LAPD that's out there humping it for 8 hours, just working, NYPD, Chicago. What happens is you get seasoned and you're constantly running scenarios through your head. If A happens, then B is what I'm going to do. If C happens, then D is what I'm going to do. You don't get that in the smaller towns. It's not an insult. It's an explanation. It's the truth.
No, I mean, also you may have had an experience close to it as an urban cop that is enough for you to have some sort of connection to the event. A guy, let's say a guy tries to run you over with a car. I'm just making this up, right? So you get out of the way, he doesn't hit you, or he slightly hit you with a car. The next time it happens, you may be hipper to the guy running you over with the car.
You go home that night, and while you're trying to get to sleep, you're running it through your head 100 times because you can't sleep.
Hold on, the state police are here now. Alan Wohlford's in town. We got to acknowledge New York State Police. We've got New York City Police. We've got both sides of police. Now, Alan, I don't know if you saw the beginning of this, but we were talking about Secret Service interacting with state police, New York City urban police, what happened in Butler, why it fell apart, who was at fault. I just wanted to get your take on what you think happened down there.
Well, I think Al was right. When you're a local or state guy, you are a little intimidated by your assignment. And I think it's normal for guys to kind of be afraid of being that guy that screws up. So they're a little less likely to take initiative as opposed to in their normal assignment where, you're more likely to be much more free to get close to that line. My agency had a very strict policy against warning shots.
Wow.
I mean, it was absolutely, I remember from the academy, and I remember guys being disciplined for warning shots. And these are guys that might have shot in, Columbia County. Like the odds of a bullet falling on anyone is about zero.
It's all farmland to people at home about Columbia County.
It's Columbia's north of Dutchess, and it's more rural.
Right.
So
more rural than Dutchess.
I think it was. But I was the route car when Clinton came to Hyde Park one year, so I was involved in some of the advance work, and I actually had an agent. The route car was a 5-minute car, so you were supposed to be 5 minutes ahead of the actual motorcade.
Right.
And at that time, we had zone sergeants were the real working supervisors. So they were in touch with everybody. And from Stewart Air Force Base, where he landed, we basically drove him up the thruway over to Hyde Park.
Stewart is in Newburgh, Ellen?
Stewart's Newburgh, yeah. It's
a
commercial airport, but it's also an Air Force base.
Right, that's right.
So I just remember they had shut down Route 9 like through the entire county, and we were despised by the public for doing that.
Wow.
The next time he came in, they helicoptered him up to the library, which made a big difference.
Yeah.
But when I worked with them, and this is back in, I don't know if it was 95 when he met with Yeltsin, man, they were strict. They were paranoid, and it was meticulously done, and the Secret Service was clearly in charge.
Right.
Years later, when they had the Republican National Committee come to New York City, it was my privilege to have to set up the credentials for my bosses, who all wanted to go into Madison Square Garden, but really had no function being in there.
Yeah.
So it was always a big fight with me to try to eliminate the credentials. But again, I worked directly with an agent, sending in their pictures, setting up their credentials. It was very well organized. It was well in advance.
Right. You're talking about months in advance.
Yes.
Okay.
At least weeks. It was months.
At least
we knew
weeks.
it was coming, But
Right.
it was several weeks ahead of time that we had to set up their credentials. And we had, we were also responsible for bringing the governor in. And he had a full-time detail that worked with the Secret Service all the time.
Wait, the governor had Secret Service protection as governor of New
No,
York?
he had state troopers, but
Right, yeah.
we worked closely with the Secret Service when he would go to like a national function like that.
Right, gotcha.
So it was called executive support, and again, it was very well planned. I could see where these so-called pop-up rallies that Trump does, you only have a few weeks' notice.
Yeah.
But I've watched everything you guys have put out. I've watched a boatload of stuff.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine that roof could be empty. It's
insane. It's absolutely insane.
Impossible for me to see it happen. I
know.
It's impossible.
I know. You mean from your position professionally?
Yeah. I was one year, I was the union delegate, the PBA delegate for the troop. So they were flying Clinton in. We leased the Hyde Park Theater, the movie theater right there, right near the library.
Right.
The staging point for all my guys. I was a one-man show. I had the checkbook for the union. So
just so people know, this is Hyde Park, New York,
Park,
famous Roosevelt stomping grounds with Roosevelt's home in Westchester County, or around up in north, a little bit north of Westchester County.
Right. So we staged in the Roosevelt Theater. And I had brought up, this wasn't fancy, 6-foot heroes, bagels, everything, typical cop fare when you're doing a detail like that. I wasn't even near the theater yet. I had the food with me, and there's Secret Service is screaming like, "Who is that guy driving in that car?" So I'm pulling up to my guys. They're like, "Hey, they're talking about you." I'm like, "Yeah, screw you. I got to get the food over there." I just kept going. And later there was another guy I knew pretty well. Charlie Boakland was a Secret Service agent. And he had this little 5'2" guy that just broke my balls about me driving. Like, he knew it was me, and it was horrible and everything else like that. I'm like, wow. Meanwhile, the helicopter pilots from Marine One came over and I fed them,
Wow.
So they were absolutely paranoid about everything.
Well, let me ask both you guys, was Ray Kelly the consultant to Clinton regarding the Secret Service interaction with police? Is that true? I saw Ray Kelly talking about being hired by Bill Clinton to be the go-between between urban police. What's that?
Yeah, Kelly went down to Haiti as sort of a emissary from Clinton. You got to understand, though, like Ray Kelly's been in and out. And I personally like Ray.
So yeah.
When I put in my papers to retire, I was down at headquarters. He called me into his office, and we talked for a little bit.
This is Ray Kelly, the longest running police commissioner in New York City history. Al? Yeah,
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah,
I like him on a personal level.
Okay.
And I think he's a good man, Marine. Well liked by the people that worked under him as he went up to the ranks from sergeant up to inspector and things like that. But he knows how to play the New York City politics. He flirted with running for mayor, and that sort of thing. So you have to understand both sides of that coin.
Right. Well, Alan, let me ask you something. What do you think went wrong down there? What do you think, and generally speaking, what the hell happened down there, in your opinion?
I think it was just, the Heritage Foundation did some interesting work, and everybody's phone is tracked, obviously, indefinitely. They're through their ad tag, and they had found that there was a phone that went to that kid's residence multiple times and ended up back in Washington. So you can check this with the Heritage Foundation.
I read that the other day. Yeah.
And so it was two things. It was obviously, if you've seen this acting director talk, man, he is a double speak. What a
wow.
They were stripping elements of his protection.
Yeah.
Piece by piece by piece by piece.
Yeah.
Somehow this kid got activated. I don't believe he just did it on his own. It's so MK Ultra type.
I agree.
And the FBI seems to have taken this over, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
It's a
well, I think you're going to find, if we ever get the toxicology report, I think you're going to find Adderall, meth type of drugs in this kid's system, which is a side issue. But nevertheless, I agree with Alan about this activation of this kid and the stripping. I mean, they've now been caught with their pants down just regarding the stripping, because the double talk that you guys are mentioning from that deputy director, and he was the one physically running the agency, not her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this Cheadle was a figurehead. This guy was in charge, and that double talk was unbelievable, Al, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I don't trust this guy Rowe as far as I can throw him. Okay.
Neither does Bongino. Apparently, Bongino's gone to war on this guy.
You know, you got to look at this guy comes in with a Marine haircut. Okay, and that's to give him the appearance that, you know, that he's a Marine and on the level a straight shooter. But interesting, he started out as a West Palm Beach cop working a radio car like I used to do.
I know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
I did not know that.
Then he applied for the Secret Service, and he had said way back that his dream was always to be on the presidential detail of the Secret Service. So it's no doubt in my mind, this guy was identified and groomed and found to be malleable to the needs of the agency. And you're not going to get a straight answer. He's strictly a PR guy that is out there to sort of assuage people and say, well, this guy looks, you know, he looks as honest as the day is long. I don't think he would tell a lie. Come on, it's theater.
Alan, the deputy director of the FBI, had similar skills, you know, when he was smearing crooks by flipping the meaning of the so-called comments of his so-called social media. I mean, he literally, what's her name? Blackburn from Tennessee kind of called him on it.
Well, you know, they have a problem with Gab. I mean, Gab obviously has some harsh people on there. Sometimes it's comical. They're so funny. But I think Torba even came out and said, I can't confirm that that's actually the kid in that account.
Right.
But they took the opportunity to smear Gab because Gab doesn't toe the party line, obviously. In that fact,
he took the opportunity to actually flip what Torber had given him, the meaning of it. Yeah. I mean, that is freaking bold. That is bold under oath when it's clearly readable in the nation's newspapers.
Yep. Well, I can tell you, just to go back to what Al had said before about Flight 800, I had the opportunity to actually go out to Grumman and view the entire completed 747 that they rebuilt there. Right. And I did it because I was the PBA president at the time, so I had some friends. Yeah. So I was able to get in there. And we had an old-time BCI investigator whose real specialty was mechanics. He was like one of those nut job diesel guys that could fix anything. And I went around with him, and it was not a scavenger pump that blew up inside.
Right.
It was from the outside.
Outside going in.
Clearly see.
You could see the outside caving into the inside. You know.
So, yeah. So just my point is, we've been lied to for a long time, people.
Right. There's a great documentary called TWA Flight 800, if anybody at home. These two guys are probably aware of it. It came out 10 years ago or so. I highly recommend it if you want to see a great doc on the subject. I don't know how we got onto this, but it seems like a great subject, because at that point they're lying through their teeth about something that was so brazenly obvious. These surface-to-air missiles being launched by along the Long Island coast, Al, right?
Well, even I'm sorry, Alan. Even Kallstrom, James Kallstrom, the head FBI guy in charge of the investigation, he was convinced it was a surface-to-air missile until the report is getting ready to come out, and he evidently got called, to the woodshed and was told, you better get on board with this thing, and So
You know what I thought was amazing, that he would, getting back to the Secret Service guy, that he would use the phrase failure of imagination, which was used by Governor Thomas Keane in the 9/11 report, that we couldn't imagine some guys from the Middle East flying jet planes into the building. That was a failure of our imagination. He lifted that phrase out of the 9/11 report to use. What a set of balls on this guy.
You know, they go by a script, and sometimes, you know, they're so tied to that script that they actually start reciting the script.
Wow.
Guys, this whole thing, you go back to 93 with the first Trade Center bombing.
Right, with the blind sheik.
Yeah, with the blind sheik. And they've been working on those two buildings. I got my Trade Center ID just a few weeks before 9/11 because we had a radio installation at the 108th floor.
Yeah.
For the state police. And it's just amazing. They had quoted, they had done like example terrorist attacks on the Twin Towers for years. It had been referenced. So I don't think that was a random attack either.
No.
And I know
there was thermite at the base involved there was thermite involved at the base with the vans that they rented in the first attack. I mean, it's not crazy. I mean, I don't like to talk about 9/11 with people who are not New Yorkers. I get uncomfortable. You know, it's something that's so personal to us. It's hard for me to talk to anybody. I know there's a lot of people who believe in a lot of conspiracies and everything else, but you know, when you lived it and you lived right there and saw that, we can talk about it. I don't mean that to be rude. I just feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? I feel uncomfortable talking to non-New Yorkers about the event, if that means anything to you guys.
Well,
listen, go ahead, Alan. Sorry.
No, we ended up staging at the Javits Center, and I was there, and they were still walking up the West Side Highway covered in dust, asking us how to get to the ferry.
Yeah.
And they had the scene. They used to show CNN inside at CNN used to be on all the monitors at the airports.
Right.
They had it on, and I just remember seeing over and over again. I was up for 24 hours programming radios, and it was horrible. And we were concerned, like, oh, they're going to crash a plane in the Crystal Palace here, through the glass.
Right. Yeah.
But then later on, when I heard certain things, like we used to have this guy called the Keymaster in the basement where you get your keys for all. He was called in sick the day of the bombing, 93. And that day in 2011, miraculously, he had taken that day off too. And we didn't know where he went.
Wow.
And I never heard what happened to him.
Wow.
But there was just a lot of coincidences. So,
I was reading this book by Amaryllis Fox, the CIA agent who is the RFK manager of his campaign. And, I'm reading this book looking for bullshit and I'm, going through it. All of a sudden she says she drives up from Washington with her girlfriends and she drives right through the Holland Tunnel, right? The day after 9/11. And all of a sudden, every bullshit detector ever built into my brain goes off. That this woman said that she drove through the Holland Tunnel on 9/12. Is that possible, gentlemen?
No, the roads were shut down.
Thank you.
I tell you, I won't go into detail, but if I see you in Dallas, I got to tell you the story about how on 9/12, Alec Baldwin tried to sneak past me.
Oh my God.
So he could go down to the pile and take his own personal photographs.
Oh my God.
Okay? Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
oh boy.
Piece of shit.
All right. All right.
Okay.
Well,
I won't get into
this is a good opportunity to end this segment here. We went a little long, but I want to have you guys back on later. I've got Steve Cooley coming up, the former DA of Los Angeles. So I got a hard out for you two guys. I went a little bit longer than I expected, but we'll have you back so we could talk about more of this inside baseball stuff.
Nice to meet you, Alan.
Nice to meet you, Alan.
And my brother's retired investigator from the state police.
Okay. I don't know. I worked with some of your guys in Intel down at the Brooklyn Army Terminal.
That's great, but you got to get off now, boys.
All
I'm
right.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Later, guys.
You guys will hook up later.
Thank you.
All right, Alan. I hope to see you guys later, both of you. That was
All
great.
right.
That was great. Okay. I
Fantastic.
wish we could talk for hours, but we'll have him back because we got a couple minutes here before we get to Steve Cooley at the top of the
Yeah,
hour.
let's.
So we could talk about some super chats here or the meetup or whatever you want to talk
Yeah,
about now.
let's just
Go
do
ahead.
some
Go ahead.
business here.
Sorry.
We're going to be in California next week, for God's sake.
You know, if
Next
some of
Friday,
you people could
a
get it
week from
together.
today.
Yeah, a week from
Yeah.
today, Eric, right?
Yeah, literally a week from today, this show will be live in California, in Brea, right near the Nixon Library.
Right. Now, you can be in the studio audience. This is a chance that
Correct.
we've never done. Like we did do something similar in Dallas, but that was a conference that was not just us. That was just our little segment there that we did. But this is the actual live show. You will be able to be in the audience for the live show, have hors d'oeuvres before the show, dinner after the show on Friday. And then on Saturday, we will have a dinner from 6 to 7, then a Q&A, and then mingle and drink and do whatever you guys want to do. I think I'm going to try to go over to the Nixon Library Saturday afternoon and see what's going on, Eric. Maybe if you want to join me, we could take a tour of the Nixon Library Saturday afternoon. Now, Friday, Neil Gorsuch is going to be over there signing his new book, which I think is around noon, 1-ish on Friday afternoon. So our event will start.
It's colliding with our
event. Yeah, but I mean, if somebody, you could pull it off if you were determined to get your book signed at noon from the Supreme Court Justice, and then our thing will be like 1 to 2 will be the hors d'oeuvres, 2:30 to like I don't know 5 will be the showtime. Then 5 to 6 will be the dinner. We are going to be in a hotel. There's like a ballroom kind of a setup. And the same thing the next night. It's 2 different events, and there's different price breaks for the 2 different events as they are different. So the VIP event is the live show on Friday, and then the Q&A is on Saturday. And it's going to be all Watergate the whole weekend. We're just going to go Watergate crazy. You could push these buttons that Eric has created if you want to get involved with us. You could drive there, fly there. There's plenty of hotels. There's Disney World. There's go see the Angels if they're playing the Yankees. And there's a lot of things to do over there. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, it's a good time, man. We have repeat people who have been to every single event, literally coming to California as well.
So that's going to be fun.
Oh, it's always fun. I mean, it just shows you the kind of good time that it is. People, they do it, they come back. You see the link floating across the bottom here.
Yeah.
But it's also in the descriptions. It's easy to remember if you're listening, americasuntoldstories.com/events.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be americasuntoldstories.com/events for any meetup we are doing from now into the future, because it's kind of the one place to track. And also after the meetups, we post pictures that are taken of everybody at the meetup. So you can always go back and, look at the previous meetups, look at the pictures, people, how things are and what happened with it. So I definitely recommend everybody do check it out.
And you could bring all your conspiracy questions with you, and Eric and I can break down into little conversations. Thanks, Lisa. Thank you. She's been around since the beginning. This woman, she's been around a long time with us.
Absolutely.
Well, look, we got 2 different opinions on the gunshot warning thing. That was kind of interesting.
Well, yes, because
because
here, Gonzales, I think, is on his own.
More of a cowboy. You're saying he's a cowboy?
I'm saying that he said initiative, and he did say department policies are against it.
Okay.
There's other people who are against it too, because if that bullet comes down and it hits somebody, what do you think is going to happen to that cop?
Again, it's an emergency. He emphasized emergency.
I know he did. I know he did. But how about firing
the head of the president
being
blown off? Well, the ground is optional. I agree. You can go ground.
Something, but there are questions.
All right. Do we have a little bit of time here left? Do we have any other news or super chats before top of the hour? I promised Steve Cooley we would bring him up.
All right, here we go. Groubert, your lordship. I'm living in the times of insane Roman emperors. Do I head for the hemlock or enjoy the crazy ride? Only you would know.
Just ride it out, bro. It's gonna get crazy. Take the ticket, get on the bus, take the ride, to quote Hunter Thompson.
All right, Grip Van Wrinkled, good name. Whoa, Eric, your background, how appropriate.
Oh, that's great. That's a new one. Yeah. Eric's bringing that with him to California.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that it kind of, when I move my head around, it lines up and makes certain words.
No,
I don't want to. I'm not saying anything, but we were talking about somebody. Anyway, weird things can happen. Bob Pacheco, Groubert, you have to do an episode on the Mossad from Erickman to Tehran. Why?
We only do America's Untold Stories. So, I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. We're not doing episodes on the KGB either, or MI6 or MI. It's beyond our purview, bro.
Blitzen gifted 10 America's Untold Stories membership.
Donna and Blitzen.
Thank you very, very, very much. And Pamela Clifton. Trump has a lot of support in the Black community, even after his appearance at the Black Journalist Convention. They didn't get mad at him for the way he answered the rude lady in the blue clothes.
I know.
It was very interesting.
Yes, it was very interesting. It sounded cheery to me.
Yeah, that when I watched it and I heard them cheering, I was like, "What? Where is he?" And then she was scrambling because he burned her. So, well, she's like, "Well, what about?" And she's starting to, backpedal. And I don't think the audience was buying it.
No,
it was.
But who's going to be buying it we'll come back to this after we do the segment with Steve Cooley, because we got a hard 4 o'clock LA time with Steve Cooley, the former assistant district attorney, former district attorney of Los Angeles, who famously went up against a woman named Kamala Harris in 2010 for the attorney general's in the attorney general race, and he will discuss that. But when Cooley was DA of Los Angeles, and I voted for Cooley, and I told him that the other day, this was a normal city without the insane George Gascon politics that hopefully will be eradicated by the guest we had on the week before, who is Nathan Hochman, and I think is in a similar mold to Steve Cooley. I think, from what I know, I don't know them that well, but I think from a law and order perspective, and Cooley can answer this himself, but this town was bottled up when it came to crime when Mr. Cooley was the district attorney of Los Angeles County, which I, as pointed out before, is the largest county in the United States with over 10 million people. So I don't know if he's available now. If we have him, Eric, maybe we can
he's not here yet.
He's not here yet. Okay, but let me just go on a little bit about that then. The situation with Steve Cooley was, I think Jerry Brown was the attorney general of the state of California, stepped out to run for governor again. And I think it was a second dip in for Jerry Brown that left it open. And Cooley won the Republican primary against a couple of other guys. Oh, I forget, Harmon and somebody else. This is back in 2010, people. So I'm trying to remember. But anyway, Steve Cooley actually debated Kamala Harris, and I wanted him to talk about his perceptions of Kamala Harris on the debate stage. And he also was in a race that when he went to bed, election night was his. And they counted votes for 3 weeks. She did not declare victory until November 30th of that month, 3 weeks after the election. He conceded a little bit earlier in a gentlemanly way, but she ended up defeating Steve Cooley, and I believe was one of the first stolen elections in this cycle of using provisional and absentee ballots. That's why this is an important story, folks. This is 2010, not 10 years later. This is 2010 in California. She won, and they stopped counting when she had a 0.8% lead. And that was the final margin. They didn't stop until they had that lead. And he had every endorsement of every magazine, every police department, every single organization in the county, in the state. And nobody predicted it would be this close. And I believe that Steve Cooley actually won that race when he went to bed that night on election night. The reason it's important, he knows what this woman was like. And this, I think, was California setting the stage on how to steal or rig elections with absentee and this is before mail-in, Eric. This is before mail-in. Keep this in mind. These are absentee back in the day and provisionals. So you're talking about military ballots, provisionals, meaning I'm not on the voter rolls and I just say that I live at such and such a place and I'm voting now and you'll count it later. Turns out there was quite a few of those. Let me put it that way. And those were counted. That took 3 weeks after Election Day. And she was eventually made the Attorney General of the state of California.
And then from there became a senator.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But this was the launching pad. I mean, it was the DA of LA versus the DA of San Francisco. It was a classic matchup. And she had been, I think, the assistant DA of San Francisco. And she may have been appointed to that role. I'm not sure of her lineage of how she got to, maybe when we talk to Steve that he can explain how she got that far. She might have been over in Oakland for a couple of minutes and then hooked up with Willie Brown, who I believe was the mayor of San Francisco at the time. So if that helps anybody understand the situation, I don't think we're bullish on her. We're just trying to explain her.
Yeah, we just don't want people just so, oh, it's in the bag, and then sit at home and go, yeah, I don't need to go. I don't need to vote. I don't need anything. Oh, well, here we go.
It's not in the bag. I'll put it that way.
All right. Well, he is here with us.
Woo!
Cooley, how are you doing?
I'm doing just fine.
How's it going, Steve?
I am very busy.
Apparently.
Responding to media inquiries about the Democrat nominee for president.
Did this take you by surprise that the person you ran against in 2010 would literally be the Democratic nominee for president some 14 years later?
Well, I'm shocked and stunned because she is so unqualified. But given recent events, I think it became almost predictable. Sad, but predictable.
Right. Well, I was just giving the background a little bit of what happened with you in her race, Steve. How did she become? Do you remember how she became DA of San Francisco?
Well, yes. She was a deputy DA in Alameda County.
That's Oakland.
Yeah, Oakland. Oakland is the main city in Alameda County.
Right. Yeah.
And then how she did there, I think there's some question about her not being particularly a star. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
He went to San Francisco, hired by Terrence Hallinan, who was the then DA. Relatively soon after her arrival, she asked for a very high-ranking position within his administration, which he did not grant because she was a newbie. And she then, shortly thereafter, decided to run against him, with Willie Brown being the absolute force behind her candidacy, and she beat the incumbent Terrence Hallinan.
And she was at that point the district attorney.
Yeah, well, then that she was elected. So that was probably, I'm going to say that must have been, I'm going to say 2004, somewhere in there. So she was elected and then served until such time as she and I squared off in the Attorney General's race in 2010.
Right. Okay. Just back up about your connection to LA County as a district attorney. What was your term like as district attorney of LA?
Well, I was a career prosecutor. I spent 27 years as a deputy DA, commencing in 1973 as a law clerk.
Mm-hmm.
I then decided to run against the incumbent Gil Garcetti, and I did so. And I slaughtered him.
Yeah.
By 28 points in 2000.
Now, he had a famous son, Gil Garcetti, did he not?
Well, Gil Garcetti was famous in his own right because of the O.J. Simpson case, and of course, being Los Angeles County DA, he was very, very, very well known in Los Angeles County.
Right. Did he ever step into that courtroom during the O.J. case, Steve?
Well, I was out in Antelope Valley during that time, so I didn't watch Gil's comings and goings in 1994.
Right.
And I didn't really care too much either.
Right.
The OJ case was obviously on everyone's mind. We were all watching it. trying to keep track of it. I think he went down there a few times.
Okay.
He didn't help it at all. I thought his decision making were a part of the cause why that case was lost. It was an overwhelming case in terms of the evidence.
Yeah.
But the DA's office under Gil Garcetti managed to screw it up and lose the case against a murderer.
So you defeat Garcetti handedly and become the district attorney of Los Angeles County.
Yes, in 2000.
Okay, so you're DA in 2000, and the seat becomes available in 2010. I'm just trying to think, are there any highlights that our audience could follow about your career as district attorney that might be of interest to them?
Well, first of all, the LA County DA's office is the largest prosecutorial agency in the country by far. At that point in time, we had about 1,000 prosecutors, almost 300 DA investigators, and another, let's say, 1,000 or so clerical and support staff. So there are many things happening in that office. There are many things happening in California at that time. We had a number of accomplishments when I was DA, primarily because I had some very good people working for me, smart, dedicated, committed professionals. We led the charge in having Mexico give up its ban against returning murderers from Mexico, to California. Yeah. And that broke open a big backlog of murderers being in Mexico, having murdered people in the United States of America, and a lot in Los Angeles County.
Right.
Our office was the first office to use the technique of a partial match familial search in a murder case. That was the so-called Grim Sleeper case involving about 25 murdered women, strangled to death, raped, and all that. So that was a major accomplishment. And there were many more accomplishments. Yeah. But we were the leaders throughout the nation in prosecuting public corruption. We certainly had a lot of it in Los Angeles, but the previous DAs had not prioritized that, and we did, and we had a great deal of success. So we did a lot of good things. And then going along, various people wanted me to run against Kamala Harris for AG because they thought I could win.
Right.
And I did not. However, I did win election night. I won election night.
That's what I was mentioning. Yeah.
I lost.
Well, let's just back up a second. You win the Republican primary against handily. I remember the numbers were pretty skewed in your favor. And then you go up on because Jerry Brown gave up the AG, Steve, to go back to governor.
Well,
I mean, why was the seat open?
That same period, Jerry Brown was running for governor. He had been attorney general. Right. Kamala Harris was running to replace Jerry Brown as governor.
Yes.
That was a sequence of events. So I was the Republican nominee for attorney general to run against Kamala Harris. Right. Meg Whitman was the Republican running against Jerry Brown. Meg Whitman got slaughtered, by the way, by 13 points. Right. Carly Fiorina got beat by double digits.
Yep.
The rest of the Republican down ballot people got beat by 20, 25 points. I did very well compared to them.
Oh, no, without a doubt. Now, tell me, you debated her one time during the election cycle, and that was, where did you debate her, in San Francisco? Or?
No, it was UC Davis.
Oh, UC Davis. Okay, right. Now, how did that go? What was your perception of this woman, just for your gut perception?
Well, I had perceptions of her long before the debate, but my tack was to emphasize the fact that the Attorney General is the chief law enforcement officer for the state of California with many law enforcement responsibilities and oversight. Her tack was basically, it's beyond that, or it's really about protecting the consumer and the environment and all that. So we had our differences of opinion. I would say it was not a hostile debate. There were no real attacks on each other. And it is what it is. And but we had no further debates. And the rest of the campaign was basically based upon her ads and my ads. I will say the essence of my debate message was how she had refused to even consider the death penalty
Oh, right.
in the
right.
machine gun murder of a uniformed San Francisco police officer
Mhm.
and a family of 3
Yeah.
also killed by
Yeah.
gang members. I emphasize that, and the mother and the sister of that police officer were in the audience. So I
Oh.
pointed them out to her and basically said, "You got a lot to answer for here. And you got to answer these people right here for what you decided, how
Mm.
you decided it."
Mm.
So that was sort of like the main way I went after her.
Well, didn't she take the death penalty off the table while the funeral was still going on for the slain police officers, Steve?
She took the death penalty off the table almost instantly before
Right.
he was even buried.
Wow.
Dianne
Wow.
Feinstein at the funeral commented on that
Wow.
about some people not having the respect
Wow.
to
Wow.
pursue the appropriate penalty and make decisions about it before this funeral here. So she was, I'll tell you one thing, I think that exemplified her. Arrogant, know-it-all. Her ideology is more important than her oath to follow the state law. She didn't even consider or go through a process to make that decision. It was just, my constituents don't like the death penalty, therefore I'm against the death penalty, therefore I'm not going to do anything about this machine gun murder of a police officer.
Wow.
That is, I think, one of the main reasons I got 57 law enforcement endorsements, and she got none.
Which is tough if you're running for AG.
Well, you'd think that law enforcement endorsements would be important. I think they were important in my campaign.
Yeah.
Going through the gap of 20 points in terms of Republican versus Democrat registration, I caught up quite a bit. It was the law enforcement endorsements and the newspaper endorsements. There were 18 daily newspaper endorsements. I got 17 endorsements. She got the San Francisco Chronicle.
Yeah.
So I think that was
Go ahead.
sort of the main points of my campaign that were very helpful. And she was sort of exposed to being not a law and order type prosecutor when it comes to being the chief law enforcement officer.
When you went to bed that night on election night, did you think you had won that race?
I thought I'd won that race. And the next morning I'm going, uh-oh, because they started to come in with some of the provisionals. And then they said, well, it's going to have to be a count. I was ahead.
Mhm.
They said it's within 1% under state law. There has to be a count of each and every ballot. That meant all the harvested ballots.
Mhm.
There were a lot of them. I'm talking tens
Yeah.
of thousands
Right.
of harvested
Right.
ballots
Wow.
had to be counted.
Wow.
And those harvested ballots were basically provisional ballots, which in California means you can't find your polling place. So someone, maybe not even a voter, drops them off at some polling place someplace.
Yikes.
And there's a lot of fraud in those that we've now discovered over time.
Yeah. So,
Did
I mean,
she run
it
as
took, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Eric. Go ahead.
Somebody in the chat asked a good question. Did she run as an Indian or black, or did she run identity
I
politics?
think her racial, trying to put her race out there and her gender has been a growing phenomenon over time. It never really came up in our race for AG. It was
Right.
obvious. She was Jamaican and portrayed herself as an African American, and she was Indian, raised by her Indian mother. As you know, her Jamaican father has rejected her, called her a
Right.
liar,
Yeah.
and is ashamed of her.
Yeah.
But that's a different story for a
That's
different day, I guess.
That's a different story. Yeah.
Yeah, but her
Also-
race did not really come up. The only way it came up was my consultant said, Steve, you can't be too mean because she's a female and a female of an ethnic minority. So you can't be too tough on her because people are very protective. So I followed his advice. And I thought it was pretty gentle.
And the other question I had, just real quickly, is she's represented as a cackling idiot or just dumb. Is this a dumb person you ran against in 2010?
I would say yes. The way I would characterize her is incapable of critical thinking.
Mm.
She just is not very smart.
Mhm.
And I hope during this campaign, they take away her prepared remarks that someone else wrote for her, take away that teleprompter, and you're going to see that she is just not well equipped in the brain department. She needs that kind of help. Now, the cackling like a hyena.
Yeah, what's that, Steve? What is that?
That's a defense mechanism that gives her a chance to think through her answer.
Mm.
You'll note that a lot of times her cackling laugh is wholly inappropriate to whatever's being discussed at the time. Well, that gives her a couple of seconds to figure out, well, how can I answer this to benefit Kamala Harris and have it sort of fit into my ideological approach to life. She's that's why I think she does that, and it is embarrassing. If she becomes president and is laughing and cackling like a hyena, this whole country's going to be thoroughly embarrassed by her.
I agree. So they counted votes in your race against her for 2 to 3 weeks, Steve,
Yes,
if I remember, because she didn't declare till the end of the month.
Yeah, it took 3 weeks, and she, as I saw the numbers growing for her over time, and it becoming mathematically impossible for me to catch up, even though it's 1/10 of a percent or 2/10 of a percent. There's trends.
Yeah.
Then I conceded, and she declared.
Well, this was way before the 3-week count of Bass versus Caruso, the 3-week count of the recall of Gascon. Why do these counts take 3 weeks?
Well, under the law, that's what the registrar recorders are allowed. They must do it within.
Oh, right.
3
There's
weeks.
a time limit.
Right. According to law, they must come up with a figure.
Right.
Now, you recall there down in Orange County, there were 3 Republican congressmen who won election night.
Yeah.
All 3 were defeated.
Yep.
After the harvested provisional ballots were counted. This was a new game.
Yeah.
And it was a game that was basically played by the Democrats. For example, in my case, I lost in all 58 counties on provisional votes.
Yeah.
It wasn't even close.
Right.
And that was the difference in the election. I won election night based upon absentees, which are valid and reliable votes.
Yeah.
Elections that day. And then I was beaten by provisional harvested ballots.
Right. Wow. Well, this is almost like a forerunner of 10 years later. I mean, it seems like this was a canary in a coal mine on how to do that back in 2010, Steve.
Well, they sort of did it back in 2010, and the art form there was harvested ballots and provisional voting, which is illegal in many states.
Right.
I think in 2020, what happened was COVID allowed for great expansion of the opportunities to vote.
Yeah.
By mail over a 3-week period, drop them off at the box and this and that.
Yeah.
And I think I'm convinced there was fraud involved in that. Whether it would have tipped the scales or not, it might have in certain close states, certain swing states. But I wouldn't personally say that I had total confidence in what happened in 2020. There was just too much room for misbehavior by those who would misbehave.
Well, tell me, switching gears a little bit, tell me about the amount of damage that you think Gascon has done to the DA's office, if he has, in your humble opinion.
George Gascon, as you know, was created by George Soros. And by the way, Kamala Harris is a Soros prosecutor too.
Wow.
She's very close to the Soros. She's very close to Soros' son.
Right.
The Soroses have supported her and many of her colleagues, such as the DA in Chicago, St. Louis, and
Philadelphia,
others.
Philly.
And Gascon, I mean, not Gascon, Soros, and one other person gave $3 million to support Gascon against the incumbent African-American professional woman prosecutor in the DA's office. And guess who was one of Gascon's biggest endorsers? Kamala Harris.
Oh, wow.
Kamala Harris supported an unqualified candidate for district attorney who had been proven to be unqualified in San Francisco. She supported him over a highly qualified African American Democrat. So that just shows you where Harris,
who I think was the first Black woman district attorney in the country of a big city,
well,
right, Steve?
at least in Los Angeles County, Jackie Lacey was the
Jackie
first
Lacey.
African American and the first woman district attorney in Los Angeles County's 172-year history.
Right.
And Kamala Harris was at the forefront in having her tossed out in favor of George Gascon. And this is because Harris was loyal to Soros.
Yeah.
And Soros was Gascon's biggest supporter. And Gascon has proven to be the worst district attorney in its history.
Yeah.
A complete failure. He wrecked a very good office. People have left in droves. No one wants to work there as prosecutors. And so, but you know what? We're going to get even with Gascon. He's going to be tossed out in a huge landslide.
Do you think Hochman's going to win by a landslide?
I think he's going to win by a mega landslide.
I agree.
Mega landslide.
I agree. Yeah, we had him on last week. I agree with you. Okay, well, maybe Hochman could stabilize the damage that was done to that office and rebuild it.
Well, he'll need a lot of help. No one person builds something like that and fixes the problems that Gascon has created.
Right.
But he'll have a lot of help. He'll need a lot of help.
Yeah.
And he'll get a lot of help. There's a lot of enthusiasm for his candidacy.
Yep.
And for him.
Yep.
And for fixing what was a great office and now is a horrible place to work as a prosecutor.
Right. Wow. Well, Steve, thank you for coming on today and explaining that to our audience, which is more national than local. I mean, I live in East Hollywood, so I know this whole story, but most of the people don't realize of internal California politics, like you just explained, and how it led to Kamala Harris, which is really why I wanted to have you on, just to give you everyone the background of how she got to where she is today.
Well, bring me on again, because I have a lot of information about Kamala Harris, all well documented, but not necessarily well known.
Ooh.
So I'll definitely make time for you guys.
Okay, let's do it after the convention, and then we'll bring you back, and then we'll talk about her.
That'd be great. You got my phone number, my email. Let's do it.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you.
Okay.
Fantastic.
All right, guys.
Thank you
so much, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right.
Wow,
That was great.
That was great, Eric. Holy cow. I didn't expect that.
Definitely.
Wow, what a great
happy.
guest.
I can't wait for the second part here. Everybody better hit that subscribe button now. And,
why did they subscribe? I don't know. Are we doing something wrong? I mean,
I don't know. You know, it's a lot of trouble. It's a red button. They get confused. It's hard to see.
I mean,
you might need
other
a bell.
people have these guests on. I don't see other shows. I'm not like a YouTube savvy cat. I mean, are there shows like this? There's just too many of them.
You know, I don't know. Maybe if there happened to be a magical bell somewhere, or
I mean, you
something.
think the bell would really affect them? I mean, if it just like ambushed them?
I don't know. There's a couple, 1,000 people watching on YouTube. There's another 1,000 or so watching on the Big Green platform. So over 1,000 people watching on that Big Green thing. I hope people are subscribing over there too.
Remember to subscribe. That's really good.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and flash it around. Remember. And just remember this: it's free.
Oh,
it is
free.
absolutely free.
Hunley likes that. It's free. Hunley likes that. Hunley, I got to tell you this story about the tourists from. This is for our British friends who watch the show. Apparently, we have a huge British UK contingent that watches the show. And I just wanted to get this story. And it's a group of 11 tourists from the United Kingdom who traveled across the globe to climb the tallest trees in California. The Canopy Climbing Collective began to climb these 380-foot trees in Redwoods National Park, where I've gone camping. It's some of the oldest trees in North America. And they've illegally climbed them and made YouTube videos, which is why I'm mentioning this. And now the authorities are going after them because they violated every single ordinance and law about climbing these trees in the Canopy Forest, which is the Redwoods and Redwoods National Park, which I just thought was an interesting story for our British friends.
Is a stupid thing. Clout is so stupid. It's you have a big problem with that. TikTokers and they go to every more extremes just to get the clicks and get the views. It's like, hey, climb the tree, look at me, and it's shocking. Or let's just walk into people's houses and do all kinds of craziness.
Well, they're seeking them now. His YouTube thing amassed 58,000 views. Big deal. And the Parks Department is after them now, so they can prevent others from copycatting this. And
There's
these
probably
are
some penalties like prison on that.
Oh yeah, no, it's all in the article. I won't go into it now, but it's just a great article about these British cats coming over here and climbing out trees. I never crossed my mind that this was a thing, Eric. You know, and
believe me, everything's a thing now. I mean, think about whatever you would never.
It's so
imagine
crazy.
doing.
I just like I wouldn't even think about climbing those trees, and here they're coming from United Kingdom to climb our trees.
I don't know. Hey, I just saw this news breaking. I thought you might have some thoughts about it. Aerosmith retires from touring, says Steven Tyler's voice can't recover from injury.
Don't get me started with Steven Tyler. I've known Tyler for a long time. I don't want to talk about Tyler and his bullshit problems, bro. I mean, I'm so done with Steven Tyler.
Like I said, I thought you'd have thoughts.
The guy, I mean, he gives narcissism a bad name. Let me just put it that way with Tyler.
Ouch, ouch, ouch. Okay, well, I'm going to go to a LA story.
Oh, good. Okay, what do you got?
Just came off of that.
Right.
Well, it's a follow-up on story we've been covering for a while. Wire.
Oh, the
Wire.
Wire. Yeah, I just love that it's called the Heavy Metal Task Force, Eric. I thought you'd get a kick out of that. 82 arrested, 2,000 pounds of copper wire. They've dismantled the entire city of Los Angeles to steal this copper wire, which they then take to illegal metal recycling places, and they're paid by the pound. So do the math of 2,000 pounds of copper wire. This is an organized ring. It used to be homeless people did it, but now, of course, the gangs are in on it, and they've got homeless people doing it, and then they pay the homeless people, and they take the copper wire, and they weigh it out, and they get paid. So finally, LA County with this DeLeon, and we could talk about that with Steve Cooley when we get him back about these insane crimes that have sprung up in the last 5 to 10 years in Los Angeles that didn't exist when he was DA. But the reason that I am enjoying this thing is that we're pushing back here in LA against these evil forces with Nathan Hochman, hopefully going to win the DA's office by a landslide. There is hope, people. And you say, well, everybody who cut and ran and left, I stayed and fought. So did Hochman, and so have others. We're not giving up the dream here just because some communists have had a couple of years of success. Where this is the tip of the spear. Let me just put it against the Marxist revolution. Is in California, it is in Los Angeles, and it is in San Francisco. And if we can defeat them here, we can defeat them nationwide. I hope that makes sense to people.
Sure does. So let's go to some super chats to George Orwell is here. Says Trump needs to expose her stupidity in the debate. Let's hope so.
I agree, but I'm saying it's one night. It's one night. And this is, a 90-day campaign. It's a blitzkrieg, my friend. This was done intentionally to avoid the exposure of what Mr. Cooley was talking about.
Yeah, and I'm sure that she will never be caught off a teleprompter and never be caught.
No, right. They're
going to control access. There's just not enough time.
Right.
We don't have time to mess around with you, slightly off, unapproved media source.
And I'll say again, if she began to sag in the polls, the next level after the convention is to actually make her president of the United States.
Man.
Yeah.
Life of Brian, what can be done to force out Chris Lesavita?
I don't know who that is. But I'm supporting the forcing him out. Whoever it is, let's get him out. Who is that guy?
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know the name.
I don't know.
Okay, Brian C. Gamecock. Only 60% of American voters turn out to vote in presidential elections. Voters for DJT need to get off their fat arses.
That's not really true. There's been all kinds of numbers over the years in terms of percentage of voting for presidential elections. That's not every single one is different. There's trends going in all kinds of different directions. Some of them higher than others. But the bottom part is correct. He's absolutely correct.
All right, all thrust, no rudder said, Alan W. and Al G are great guests. Would love to see them in the future.
Yeah, no, we'll have him back. It's just we don't have that much time today, in particular, because of how many guests we got jammed up with today.
Right, and it wasn't pre-planned. It's just that
No,
yeses suddenly came through, and
Yeah.
we're not going to turn away.
Yeah.
Some really good opportunities.
Yeah.
K-Doc said the Benny Hill theme should be the music playing in the background worldwide these days.
That's true.
I like that.
Yeah, it sounds like Benny Hill, but there's more problems in the UK than just Benny Hill.
Well, especially with him gone. John Campisi, great show. Thank you.
This is the son of Joe Campisi, who was the overlords to Jack Ruby in Dallas.
Allergen News. Did Kamala go to Browntown with Willie?
Well, we don't
Anyway.
know. Somebody, Laura Luma put up a great photo, which I sent to you moments ago, Eric, of Kamala Harris tongue kissing with Willie Brown. If you ever take a look at it, I mean, it's a really strong romantic embrace. And what Steve Cooley is mentioning, part of it is, it was kind of a trouble with Willie Brown's wife, and Kamala Harris. They attended events as three all the time. This was not a hidden mistress that Willie Brown had. Willie Brown was quite out front about his love relationship while married with Kamala Harris, and attended official events, the three of them together, as a trouble. If it makes any sense to anybody. Oh, there it is. There's the one I just sent you. Yeah. That's interesting. Okay. Well, that was quick.
Yeah.
Some people like you to leave these things up there for an hour.
Yeah. You can over it.
Hunley's got his own rhythm.
No, it's coming back.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, that looks real.
Yeah, they seem okay. And
Willie Brown was the boss Tweed, the big machine politician out on the West Coast for many, many years in California Democratic politics, if that makes any sense. And I'll tell you something else, which most people don't know. A number of years ago, we got to the point where we almost got the Sirhan case reopened.
well, that went well. All right. Dashon's Rule is a new member. Thank you.
Somehow muted itself. But
You're back.
Sirhan case to the point of having it reopened. And CNN was part of that, because CNN had the tape recording of the Dutch journalist recording all the shots that were fired in the kitchen of the Ambassador Hotel, the number from Sirhan and the same amount of shots from Thane Eugene Caesar. And that recording was brought in to CNN, and CNN brought in their own acoustic analysis, and they determined that there was 12, 13 shots fired in that pantry. And the case got almost to the point of being reopened. Now, keep in mind, DAs and others, and Cooley could even probably comment on this. The case went all the way up the ladder to the Attorney General of State of California and was almost reopened. And it was kiboshed by the Attorney General at the time of the state of California, and that was Kamala Harris.
Great. She's a gift. Keeps on giving. Jenny's going to ink you with it. When you get last guy back on, ask if he knows if Kamala has connections to the Communist Party. Don't know that she is herself, but it seems to me she has connections. It's possible.
Well, we'll see when we get that. Get the last guy back on. The guy's name is the last guy back on.
When Steve comes back on, and brings
Steve Cooley, the district attorney of Los Angeles, the last guy back on. These are fairly famous people, folks. I don't want to say anything, but the last guy back on.
Different people.
It's a little disrespectful. I mean, I'm sorry.
All right. JS, love your amazing selves. Great show. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, JS. And we're going to keep the show going.
Wait, what about
Locals?
We're leaving now?
Yeah, we're leaving now, and we're heading.
Don't we have a couple more minutes or over for these people because we had all those guests?
Sure, Mark.
No, if we don't, we don't. Obviously, I'm gonna just go with Hunley's instinct on this. Unless you went through your super chats and all your stuff.
Okay.
No, I don't know. It kind of caught me off guard there.
Let me see what we have here. Got Master Mason, Mayor Adams. There's a story. Oh.
No. It's okay. If you feel like we should go over there and continue over there, we could take the stories with us.
Well, we already obviously would be taking the stories with us, but
okay.
Here we go. But here, let's have a story because Mark.
All right, just one story. Mayor Adams. Yeah, I don't know what the story is. I don't understand these Freemason things. Mayor Adams named Master Mason. Why is it always a secret Freemason ceremony at Gracie Mansion or the White House or the Capitol Rotunda? What is the deal with this? I mean, there's a photo that I wanted you to show, and there's one other story I didn't want to mention after this. So just if you scroll up a little bit, there's a photo. I don't know if you can actually scroll. Scroll. Not this is a weird one, but there's another one below this. Just take a look at the one below this. What is that? Explain this to me. I'm an idiot. This is Gracie Mansion. It's a secret ceremony in Gracie Mansion. A public. The people own this house, and yet these things are going on in there. I have no idea. I'm not an expert on the Freemasons and what their deal is, but I just find this to be bizarre.
I don't know. There are a lot of black Freemasons.
Right. That's what somebody said.
I know there's a lot of, and I don't know if the black Freemasons are tied in with the white Freemasons, quote unquote, or whatever, but they seem to be two different organizations. But one, I'm not really sure how it works, but there definitely are a lot of them.
The other story
in the military, quite a lot.
The other story I just wanted to touch on was the destruction of the Italian female boxer in the Olympics by the Algerian male boxer, and the Koreans. We got to cover these two stories.
Well,
they're
here's
huge.
The problem with it. I don't want to go too deep into it because a lot of people are getting it wrong about the Algerian boxer. And
well, let's go over. You want to go over to locals and talk about? Let's go over there, big guy. Come on.
We can go over there, but
let's go over there and talk about it.
Everybody's gonna be pissed when they hear it. So
let's go over there because there's also the Korean version now.
That's true. Well, we're monetized for the second. Let's go to locals. It's free.
Let's go to locals and let's see what's going on. Okay, I'm with you, Hunley. We'll talk about it over there. All right, I'm with you. I'm with you.
You're with me. Okay, good to go.